Welcome to class 7th, all of you. So, today we'll be starting the class 7th NCRT. The class 6th is done. So, let us see the new class and the new book that we have to study now. So, here we are, the class 7th NCRT, Unit 1. It talks about equality in Indian democracy. Now, it starts with an illustration, like most of the NCRT books do. Now, here you see, we'll just uh, analyze them very briefly and then we'll move. On election day, Kanta and her friend Sujata are waiting to cast their votes. And there are two ladies, they want to cast their vote. Isn't it good, Sujata, that we can all vote as equal citizens of our country? Even Jan Sahib is standing in the line with us. Yes. So, whenever you go to cast your vote, I hope you have done that. If not, then please do it in the next election. So, whenever you go there, irrespective of whoever you are, you have to stand in the queue. That's what they are saying, that even Jan Saab is standing in the line with us. Yes, go on, Kanta, it's your turn. I'll vote for the candidate who has promised to bring pipe water into our area. So we all have our own preferences when it comes to our voting. Whom do we prefer? And it's a very personal decision. We'll see you later, Kanta. Yes, Namaste Sahab. Okay. So what was this, that Kanta was a maid who used to work in the house of a woman. Now both of them were standing in the same queue while they were voting. Now voting is done and they leave to their respective places. Now Kanta is saying Gudia has been running fever and I have to take her to the hospital, but I will have to finish the work at Sahib's house first and ask for some advance. And now she consoles her sick child, and when she leaves her child and goes for the work at her master's place, she notices the filth all around in the this surrounding the basti, and she wonders, it's no wonder that Gudia falls ill often. The basti is never cleaned, so unhygienic conditions are there. And then the lady tells her where she works that make sure to do the corners properly. Here is your advance, Kanta, but don't make a habit of it. She gives her advance, but strictly says that don't make it a habit. She says no, ma'am. So here you see she is waiting in the OPG of the general hospital, uh, and she is thinking that Jan Sahab and Jan Madam may stand in the line to vote, but they never have to do it when their children are sick, because they can go to private hospitals which charge heavy fees. Essence here is that despite political equality, there are social inequalities. And I am reminded of what Dr. Ambedkar rightly said, that political democracy is not possible without social democracy. Similarly, political equality is not possible without socio-economic equality. So here you see socio-economic equality. Two different people, two different women having different background, diverse incomes, diverse startup, living in the diverse startup society, different positions in society, and here they are differentiated. So we all know that we have studied this term universal adult franchise in the last section, last class 6 book. So despite having now her voting choice, Kanta's voting choice would be different from Mrs. and Mr. Jan's voting choice. She is willing to vote for someone who can bring, what she says here, pipeline into her locality, maybe, yeah, pipe water into our area. Now this is not an issue for Mr. and Mrs. Jan, so they would be voting for on some different parameters. So see how voting preferences and on what parameters you elect your candidate varies from person to person depending on their very condition. Now moving ahead, here we saw social inequality. Now this another example is given here. What is a Dalit? Dalit is a term that so-called lower caste used to address themselves. Dalit means broken, and by using this word, lower caste are pointing to how they were and continue to be seriously discriminated against. Now, post-independence, several attempts have been made to empower the Dalits. There is this constitutional promise of reservations, so many socio-economic welfare programs that are run by the respective state governments, and also by the union government. So, to a large extent, this discrimination has been done away with. I do agree, and we all should agree that to some extent we still need to do more. But 70 years down the lane, it's more than 70 years India became free. More than 70 years India adopted the present constitution. So several things have been done to address this issue, and they have been to a large extent very successful. Today, the so-called lower caste. Why I'm saying so-called? Because you should not believe in the caste hierarchies. Every human beings are human beings. Categorizing them as higher caste or lower caste is simply irrational and illogical, because what a person of higher caste is doing and what a person of lower caste, so-called lower caste or so-called higher caste, is doing, both have equal importance. It's not like what task so-called lower caste is doing is not having any importance in our society. It also has the same importance. So there is another story given here by Om Prakash Valmiki. Now, a Dalit writer. Now, at times I wonder how come Maharishi Valmiki wrote Ramayana, one of the greatest epics of Hinduism, in fact, the greatest epic of Hinduism, and Valmikis are considered as Dalits and untouchable. So that remains a mystery to me for sure. So here he has written his autobiography, Juthan. He passed away in 2013, and here he recalls some horrific instances where he was there in the school of. He is quoting those instances here. The mat ran out before reaching the spot I sat on. He used to sit on the ground, and they would beat me without reason. No, that children do. We all have done that. At times, I have been beaten, and I have also beaten someone. I'm sure you all must have gone through that. Very normal for Indian school kids. But playground was way larger, and then my small physique could handle, and he was asked to clean the playground. Now, this is not something that one should have been doing in school. And one fine day, it's written here, I'll just submit for you. His father sees that he's crying. He carries him and he says the teacher that you have done wrong, and he will study here without doing all these menial work. He's there to study. He's not there to clean the ground. So this was something very horrific, which he has written in his biography, Juthan. Okay. Now, second story, again, an example is given here, that Mr. and Mrs. Ansari. Now, it's a Muslim couple. They are a Muslim couple and they are looking for accommodation. Now, they go with the property dealer, and when people refuse them, saying that they don't allow people who eat non-veg to live as tenants. Now, what the story says that they could smell that fish was being cooked in the house, where they were asked that you eat non-veg, so we'll not allow you. Crux is that because they were Muslims, that is why some non-Muslims, mostly Hindus, did not allow them to live as renters in their own house. Now, again, we have to agree that this is a form of discrimination. Like recently, I've come across many such news where it was written that it is the food being sold here is manufactured and marketed by a Hindu, uncalled for and wrong. But the thing is that we have halal certified food items floating around in the market. So it is happening from both sides. The current book discusses only one side. However, let me assure you that there is two sides to this story. So if Hindus are not allowing Muslims to live in their house, it's wrong. But when a Muslim does the same, it's equally wrong. If any religion, irrespective of religion, if a Sikh does that or a Christian does that, it's equally wrong. We don't allow people to live as renters depending on their religion. Whatever religion the landlord or the renter belongs to, then that is wrong. So instead of quoting selectively, we need to see the larger picture, and these things do not happen in isolation. They have been nurtured for more than 100 years, I guess. So this is the example, the two examples that we have come across in this book. I have elaborated more than what is given in the book. So recognizing dignity, you have understood by now that the caste we are born into, the religion we practice, the class background we come from, whether you are male or female, these are often the things that determine why some people are treated unequally. It is true, it's not untrue. And when people are treated unequally, their dignity is violated. So the two examples that are given here of Mr. and Mrs. Ansari and Kamla Bai, of course, that was against their own dignity. Now, this famous scene from the iconic movie Diwar, I don't know whether you have watched it. If not, then take some time and watch it. It's a famous Hindi movie Diwar, starring Amitabh Bachchan, Shashi Kapoor. And what happens is that these two people, they were going for horse race. This movie was made in 70s. So I'm told that during those times, horse race was a famous, very, convenient sports for people who were rich. So they used to go for horse race and they used to get their boot polished by these two uh, small kids. Now, currently, you can't do that because Constitution prohibits under 14 years of age anyone who is found to be working, and if you render his or her service, you will be punished. But then it happened in that movie, and he throws some coins that you have cleaned my shoe, keep it. Then that this kid stands up and he delivers a famous dialogue, मैं आज भी फेंके हुए पैसे नहीं उठाता. The kid grows up to be Amitabh Bachchan. It literally means I do not pick money, thrown money. If you throw it, I'll not pick it. Give it in my hand. I have some dignity. I have done my labor. I have polished your shoes, so I'm entitled to be given money with dignity. Why are you throwing it? So this is a lesson in dignity, which is there in NCRT, picked from the 1975 film Diwar. A boy who works at a shoe shine refused to pick up a coin thrown at him. He feels that there is dignity in work, of course, and that he does not insist that his fee be given respectfully. Whether I am cleaning your shoes, or I am cleaning the house, or I am cleaning the streets, I am entitled to my dignity because I am doing hard work. So this scene from that movie is there in the NCRT book. Now, when it comes to Indian democracy, Indian constitution recognizes every person as equal. This means that every individual in the country, including male and female person from all castes, religion, tribes, educational and economic backgrounds are recognized as equals. But then it does not mean that inequality does not exist. The next line says this, it does. And in democratic India, the principle of equality of all person is recognized. That's the Parliament of India. No law existed to protect people from discrimination and ill treatment. This is before independence. Now there are several that work to see that people are treated with dignity and as equals. As I told you, there is a constitutional promise. We shall see these things in great details when we come to the Indian Constitution, the class 11th textbook. Yes, Indian Constitution at work. Now, this recognition of inequality equality includes some of the following provision. First, every person is equal before the law. It means everyone is equal, from the president of the country to Kanta, the domestic worker. However, here is a caveat attached here. When they have said president of India, there is an aberration, there is an exception. We'll talk about these things when we'll see these things in book, not now, right now. Currently, you just remember that everyone is equal from president to the Kanta by everyone. Second, no person can be discriminated against on the basis of their religion, race, caste, place of birth, or whatever they are. You can remember it by just write an acronym somewhere, RRCPS. RRCPS. R for race, R for religion, RRC for caste, P for place of birth, and S, sex, male or female. RRCPS. Race, religion, caste, sex, place of birth. Okay, please do that. So because this will come very handy in bare acts when we will see all the article 14, 15 and 16 subsequently, then you will have to deal with this again. Every person has access to the public places including playground, hotel, shops and markets. All person can use available publicly available wells, road and bathing ghats. Untouchability has been abolished. Article 17 clearly says that any public place, all of us, irrespective of whoever we are, whatever our identity or our credential is, we have equal access to that very place. The two ways in which the government has tried to implement the equality that is guaranteed in the constitution is first through laws and second through government programs or schemes to help disadvantaged communities. Now, government makes a law. Law is made in the legislature. Through law, Article 17 is a constitutional promise that you will not be discriminated on the basis of uh, uh, being labeled as untouchable. If you do that to anyone, you will be jailed. Second thing, government makes so many welfare schemes, right from this Bharat Nirman to Beti Bachao Beti Padhao, for whom? For disadvantaged, vulnerable community, women, Divyangs, specially abled, physically handicapped. There is a better word for that. Specially abled in Hindi we call it Divyang. Then minorities, uh, these tribals, STs and SCs, all of them. So government is running so many programs that you have to study for your prelims. There are several laws in India that protect every person's right to be treated equally. And governments has also set up several schemes to improve the life of communities and individuals who have been treated unequally for several centuries. Now, these schemes ensure greater opportunity for people who have not had this in past. So one of the step taken by the midday meal. Now what happens here? We'll read this. Program introduced in all government's elementary schools to provide children with cooked lunch. Tamil Nadu was the first state to introduce this scheme in 2001. The Supreme Court asked all state government to begin this program in their school within 6 months. This program has had many positive effects. Of course, it increased the enrollment ratio of children in this school. Many poor children have begun enrolling and regularly attending school. Teachers reported earlier children would often go home for lunch and then not return to school. Now, with the midday meal being provided in school, their attendance has improved because what children used to do, they used to come in the morning. After a few hours, they used to say that we have to go to home for lunch. They never came back. Now that the lunch is being provided by the school, they are staying and learning in the school. Mothers who earlier had to interrupt their work to feed their children at home during the day now no longer need to do that because mothers know that schools will feed them. And it has helped reduce caste prejudice because children of all castes in the school eat this meal together. And in quite a places, Dalit women have been employed to cook the meal. That's a wonderful gesture. Different caste people sitting together, who is cooking food does not matter. As long as the food is good, it does not matter. The midday meal program also helps reduce the hunger of poor students who often come to school and cannot concentrate because their stomachs are empty. Imagine the plight of these vulnerable kids. They are here to study, but their stomachs are not filled, so they are unable to study. So this thing has been taken care by midday meal school, midday meal scheme. Government program play an important role in increasing equality of opportunity. There is much that still needs to be done. Of course, there is much that needs to be done. There is always a scope for improvement. And who better than this man on your screen can convey this to us? So Dr. Ambedkar was instrumental in bringing these aspects into our constitution, and attitude is changing slowly. As I told you, the attitude is changing slowly, and even though persons are aware that discrimination is against the law, they continue to treat people unequally on the basis of their caste, religion, disability, economic status, and because they are women. So people have, it's high time that people need to believe that no one is inferior and that every person deserves to be treated with dignity. Only then will this situation change for better, and it will happen. We are improving for better. The thing is, it is happening gradually. It's not like a spontaneous combustion that you lit up a dry pack of leaves and it lights up. No, it is happening. Behavioral change in India or in any part of the world happens gradually. And as I told you, we are improving gradually for better. So India is the only democratic country in which there is inequality where the struggle for inequality no. Truth is that in many democratic countries, the issue of equality continues to be the key issue. Like in USA, African Americans whose ancestors were slaves brought over from America continue to describe their lives today as largely unequal. So it took someone like Martin Luther King, and then Barack Obama becomes the first black African president of USA. Imagine America uh, 1771, and then we have Obama until very recently. So imagine the level of discrimination. Cassius Clay, the famous boxer, changed his religion. He became Muhammad Ali because he was facing discrimination, as some stories, if they are to be believed. So there are other examples that are given here, not very. This one is important. Civil Right Movement. The Civil Right Act of 64 prohibited discrimination on the basis of race, religion, or national origin. It also stated that all schools would be open to African American children and that they would no longer have to attend separate schools specially set up for them. So there was separate school in USA set up for those children whose ancestors were African, who migrated to USA 200, 300 years before and who used to work there in plantation or in industries as slaves. So there were different schools for them. Now this act, Civil Rights Act of 64, undid this provision. Now everyone could attend every school. So this thing was undone in America in 64. Now we have this Article 15, very important one. This is the Indian Constitution. Prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. RRCSP, as I told you to remember this thing. State shall not discriminate against any citizen on grounds only of religion, race, caste, sex, RRCSP. Now, here it is said only of. It means that there can be discrimination other than factors RRCSP. Religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, there shall be no discrimination only on this. Other than this, there can be. We'll see that how, but not now. When we'll come to our next books, maybe class 11th Indian Constitution at work. No, Abhi, you just understand this, that there can be discrimination other than RRCSP factor. No discrimination on religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. No citizen shall on grounds only of, again, there can be discrimination on other basis. Religion, race, same thing, RRCSP, or any of them by subject to any disability, liability, restriction, or condition with regards to access to shops, public restaurant, hotels, and place of public entertainment, use of well, tanks, bathing ghats, roads, and places of public resort maintained wholly or partly out of state fund or dedicated to the use of general public. Now we have to understand this. Any disability, liability, restriction, what does that mean? Regarding access to shop, let us see the first one, public restaurant, hotel, and place of public entertainment. A shop is there, public restaurant is there, a hotel is there, there is a public place of entertainment, maybe a park, an open park in the middle of the city. So any person on the basis of RRCSP cannot be subject to any disability, liability, restriction, or condition. I'll give you example of each one. Please listen to this carefully. Disability, you are not supposed to enter this park. This is a disability. Liability, if you enter this park, you cannot wear shoes. If you enter this park, you cannot wear a hat or a pagadi on your head. This is a liability. Restriction, you can enter this park only between when the sun sets, when there is no light. You cannot come here in daylight, you can come here in light, and you have to keep your head down. You have to walk like this. This is liability and restriction both. Or condition, if you enter here, you have to clean the street. If you walk on that very pathway, you have to clean that street. This is a condition. So you cannot be subject to these limitations. There is one word, we can classify them as one word: disability, liability, restriction, or condition. It is imposing some sort of special conditions, some limitations, only on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth. Other than this, there can be, that we shall see later, not now. Again, this act was brought during independence, 1950, when the constitution came. So wells, tanks, bathing ghats, road, these things were where people used to gather. Now no one goes to well to fetch water, right? No one goes to bathing ghat to take a bath. We can take bath in our washrooms. We have our separate bathrooms. We do not go and fetch water from wells. Okay, but again, these were public places in 1950s. That is why part A also says shops, public restaurant. Now these are the places where people gather usually for their social gatherings. This is Article 15. There is much to Article 15 which we shall discuss later for sure. For now, only what is written in the book. So no country can be described as being completely democratic. Of course, 100% efficiency is not possible. Even a petrol engine or a diesel engine, a two-stroke or a four-stroke petrol engine cannot convert entire, fuel to energy. So a completely scientific device cannot work with 100% efficiency. Here we are talking about man-made human institutions. There will always be some limitation. Our attempts should be to do away with those limitations as much as possible. So there are always communities trying to expand the idea of democracy and push for greater recognition of equality on existing as well as new issues. Central to this is the struggle for the recognition of all persons as equal and for their dignity to be maintained. So this is what we will study in subsequent chapters of this book, and this is what we have to understand today. I hope you understood this very chapter. The new NCERT class 7th has started today. We'll complete it as per our schedule that has been provided to you in the Telegram channel. So happy learning to all of you. We'll meet very soon. Take good care. Bye.